Hey YouTube, how's it going? Red Baron flying at you with another weekly deck breakdown. And this week, we have Bears Go GRRRRR! Made by J Johnny himself. So let's get into it. Alright, so here's J Johnny's Celestial lineup, and I gotta say, it looks really nice and a very, very unique mindset that he brings to this deck. So, first, I want to go through the bear package, but let me first say the cards on TTS are not updated with the new effects, so I will post them above as I explain them. So first we have Earth Scout. Earth Scout is a 1/3, and then when it is destroyed by battle, you get to get any bear, which is a subtyping. It'll have a picture of a little bear. You can get any bear from your deck and special cast it onto the field. This is good. For this card, he'll be going for Earthseer most of the times. And then if he has a hand full of bears, he will probably go Earthsmog to get that tempo going. Next up, we have Earthseer himself, who kind of got a nerf and buff at the same time. So, Earthseer, when it destroys a Celestial by battle, you get to special cast and any bear from your deck into either attack or defense position, unrestricted by spirits. So this means you can special summon one of these with a different spirit if you so choose to. Then we have Earthsmog. Earthsmog is kind of your tempo bear. If you have them, you could expend one special summon an Earthseer or an Earth Scout or any bear from your hand. And this is why he only has one of them in his deck. You don't really need more than one. You could probably use two, but one is certainly fine with the fact that you can actually search it out with Earth Scout or search it out with Earthseer. So let's go to his unique option. He added 2 Wormites. This is really good. So the bears are often seen as weak, which is very factual. So it's very hard for them to stick on the field, very hard for them to hit over other Elestrals. So Wormite is there to help in that concept. If Earthseal needs to get over any, let's say, Viserys or Valkyries or anything that's 4 or 5 attack, Wormite can be played, lowering its attack, and then Earthseer can attack over it, and then you can special summon and go from there. Wormite is a great inclusion. You can tell how much Johnny has, how much thought he put into this deck, because he knows the weaknesses and strengths of the bears. So moving on. So, like I said before, bears, they lack the stats. They're very, very weak, so we need some muscle. So, what does he put in this deck? He puts in 3 Necros and 3 Valkyries. Great, good options. These are his beaters for the deck. These will help him scare his opponents. Necro being a 5/1, whenever you attack an Celestial and destroy it, they have to expend 1 spirit, and Valkyries gets a +1 attack for each fire spirit on the field, and this is great when you have combinations like Earth Scout getting an Celestial from your deck, or Earthseer swarming the field. When you play Valkyries, you should probably already have 2 or 3 Celestials, not including whether you play Hephaestus or if you play the Stadium. So Valkyries is great. It'll put the pressure on their opponent, and yeah. Okay, moving on to Kinleo. We have 3 Kinleos. Fire, not so good with back row, but what it is good at is field Celestial control. So who does that better? Kinleo, no one. Kinleo is great. Good Nexus. Good Nexus effect. Nexus effect. Nexus up to 2. Target Celestial on your opponent's side of the field and destroy it. This is good. Help get over anything that any of his other cards cannot, in case there's a 2 cost or 3 cost that hits the field. So, looking at these Celestials, you can tell he's going for the more aggro build. There are several ways you can build bears. There's a lot of ways, especially since you can misenchant any of the bears that are special summoned. So, for instance, you could go the Blazerous route, or you can go the Trifernal route. You can go a 2 or 3 cost route. Because the bears can swarm the field, quickly, you could easily go into that 2-cost or 3-cost Ascension. The only downside to this is it costs a lot of resources to actually do so. And if that 2 or 3 cost ends up getting outed by, say, Shield of Achilles or PTA, Poison Tipped Arrow, then your board is literally nothing and you expended so many spirits to have little to no hand and maybe no back row. So, but I really like his approach. His approach is simple. It's aggro. It's trying to get as much damage, try to get as many Elestrals on the board as possible to get damage in. So that is all of his Elestrals. So let's move on to his invokes and see what he has going on over there. Alright, so here are his invokes and stadiums that he has in his deck. First, as it's a recurring theme, bears are relatively weak. They don't have the stats, so what do you need to boost that? You need volcanic forges. It's a great idea. He has 2 of them in his deck, 3 you don't really need, but these volcanic forges will help his Seer attack over Elestrals and maintain that board presence that bears definitely needs. Next, you have your pretty staple Nectar of the Gods. He has that too, which is good. It'll help him get into those pieces that he needs, help him get those answers like Kinleo or Volcaries or Necruff to help him maintain the board state. Now, Eruption. Eruption is a great tech in this deck. You might be thinking, well, Eruption just go into every fire deck. Yes and no, but it's even more so necessary in this deck. So it's very, very hard to get damage out most of the time, but Eruption can be your second win condition. It'll help you deal the damage to your opponent so they have less options to deal with your bears on the field or your Necruffs or your Volcaries. This is great. I love Eruption. Such a good card. Your opponent always forgets about it, and if they have less than three spirits remaining in their deck, or even if they have 3 or 4, it'll come as a shock, and they're all of a sudden thinking about what they should do with 1 or 0, or they just die to Eruption. And then we move on to Ambrosia. Ambrosia, enough said. 3. You need 3 in this deck. It'll expend a lot of spirits using Eruption. You'll expend a lot of spirits getting the bears to work, getting that whole combo going off. So Eruption, don't really need to go into that. So let's move over to his traps, counter rooms, and see what he has cooking over there. All right, so here we have his counter runes and his, artifacts. We have a very, very interesting artifact here, which is a very, very spicy tech from J. Johnny. It is Necklace of Harmonia. Necklace of Harmonia, when it empowers an Elestral, it gets +5 attack. This is great for his bears that are extremely lacking in the offensive power, but it does come with a downside. You have to expend 2 at the end phase of each of your turns, so it definitely has a big drawback, but he can also use this in a defensive way. He can actually equip this to his opponent's Elestral. Now you might be thinking, oh, increasing my opponent's Elestral, that doesn't sound like a good idea. No, not really. But in a game where attack only matters to get over an Elestral, if he can stall the field, stall that one Elestral, and make it so he doesn't attack his life, and just chump block all of his like small creatures or Elestrals, then his opponent has to expend 2 every turn. So it's great. It's technically a every turn burn. But of course, this does have a nice downside because you can easily send on top of the Elestral that's equipped with a Necklace of Harmonia, and it just goes bye-bye. That's why it's not really that good right now, but I love it in the Bears deck. Then we have our counter runes, including Gorgon's Gaze, Alter the Stars, and Poison Tipped Arrow. Gorgon's Gaze, enough said. We've talked about this a lot of times. It will just stop any Elestral in its tracks, help protect the bears. Happy bears, best bears, let's go. Altar of the Stars is great. I love this choice. It's personally one of my favorite counter runes because it allows you to have so many plays and the fact that he has a lot of targets for Altar the Stars. He has Volcanic Forge, and as you can see over here to the right, he's running one Hephaestus. So Hephaestus, it's not only there to help him get the necklace, but he can also use it as Kinleo fodder for the Nexusing. So that's really good. One Hephaestus is enough. Good job. All right, going back to the counter runes. Yeah, Ultra Stars, very good option. I love it. So, moving on to Poison Tipped Arrow. Yeah, you have 2. It's good. Now, you could substitute this depending on how you want to play. Bears are relatively weak, so he could just as easily swap out the Poison Tipped Arrows for Shield of Achilles. And that way he can make sure the opponent's field is clear and he has protection for his bears. But either way, it works. And I really like this. So let's move over to his spirits next, because that's really interesting. All right, so here's his spirits. Nothing but fire until you get at the end. He has two Leviathan. Why, you ask? Tsunami. He wants to have an answer for Tsunami. So if he's ever in that situation where he has the field, but your opponent might be playing water or might be playing Tsunami, which most decks are, he'll just re-enchant one of his bears, re-enchant one of his Elestrals with a Leviathan. And by doing so, they can no longer be stopped by Tsunami. Overall, I really enjoy this deck. I've always loved the bears, and thankfully the bears will be getting support in set 2. So, go Bears. All right, that's all I have for today. Johnny, great deck. I love this. If anybody else wants to test this deck out, go for it. I know Johnny will love you. So, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for the next deck breakdown. Peace.